Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the City of Houston Housing and Community Development Department first session of the Spring 360 Road to Home Ownership series. My name is Latasha Smith, and I am the Community Involvement Coordinator for the Communication and Outreach Division. HCD is working to better equip community members to navigate the complicated home buying process. Tonight, we will begin the Spring 360 series with session 1, Credit 101. In this evening's presentation, we will touch bases on the importance of your credit and how that plays a role in home ownership. Today, we have an awesome presenter that has been with us from the conception of this series, and she has a lot of great information to share. But before we get started, I would like to touch bases on a few housekeeping notes. First, all audio should remain muted throughout the presentation, but on when the speaker is speaking, she also stated before that if you have a question, you're more than welcome to raise your hand and she will answer that question at that time. Also, second, any other questions that you want to answer, please put it in the chat box function, and we will get to those questions at the end if it's outside of the presentation. And lastly, this event is a recorded event. The recording and the presentation will be available to all attendees after the event. Now we will go to the second part of our event, and that is the agenda, and it will be spoken by Ms. Dejanay Jones, our community liaison.
Thank you, Latasha. Now to the agenda, we'll have an introduction of our director and outreach staff, a mini fair housing commercial, introduction of today's guest speaker, Ms. Sherry Young, upcoming events, and final remarks.
I would like to introduce the Housing Director, Mr. Keith W. Bynum. I would also like to introduce the outreach team. I myself am Monica Porter, the Admin Manager. Latasha Smith is our Community Involvement Coordinator, and Dejanay Jones is the Community Liaison.
All right, we are having a few technical difficulties. I will bring that commercial back at the end. Now we are up to our presenter for this evening. Our presenter for this evening is Ms. Sherry Young. She is the Executive Director of Credit Coalition. She is the instructor as well. And like I stated at the very beginning, Ms. Sherry Young has been with us from the conception of this series. She has so much information that she is able to share with you tonight. So I hope you all have a piece of paper, a pen, and get ready to take some good notes because she has a lot of information to share with you. So now I present to you Ms. Sherry Young.
Hey, everybody. Hi, I'm Sherry with the Credit Coalition. Welcome. Thank you, Latasha, and your whole team over at the City of Houston for allowing me to be part of this event again tonight. Now, y'all saw my picture on that first screen. I have aged a bit. That shows you how long ago we've been working together as a team. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen here. I say I'm going to share my screen. Let's get this PowerPoint going. I'll be talking tonight, sharing information with everyone, specifically talking about your path to home ownership. Well, let's see. We did this so well earlier. We were able to go in here, and maybe I'm going to need y'all's help again to show me how to do this, PowerPoint, guys. So we can go back. I'm trying to go back and just show the screen anyway. Yep, keep going to the grid. Latasha, can you help me here?
Yes. Which one you need to go to?
I'm just trying to go to the, well, I'll try not to show this screen. I'm trying to do the big screen, the full screen. Okay,
Oh,
magnified slide. I think I got it now. Nope, I don't have it.
did you hide presenter?
Hide presenter. I'm trying here. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. More action. There you go. Thank you. So,
Awesome.
okay, so hey, so we're going to be talking about our path to home ownership. Tonight is Credit 101. If any of you have been in our Fundamentals of Good Credit class or seen me in a presentation, you're going to hear a lot of the information that I share in week 2 of our classes of our Fundamentals of Good Credit class. All right. So we'll be talking about these steps. Step 1, get your finances in order. We'll be discussing what that means to us at the Credit Coalition. Number 2, step 2, we want everyone to know who and what you owe. That's a big step in moving towards any financial goal, but especially the big goal of home ownership. Number 3, we're going to ask if you were in our class, and I'd ask you as a homework assignment. I know you're not going to see me, but to consider this as a homework assignment to track your spending for at least 1 month. And we'll be discussing that today. And then step 4, attend a homebuyer education class. And the reason I add the homebuyer education class at the end is because you should, if you're interested in home ownership, you should know who you owe, what you owe, understand understand how you pay your bills, get copies of your credit reports, know where your money's going before you start your path with that actual search for houses or search for homes. Okay, step 1, get our finances in order. How many in here, if you can put it in the chat or raise your hand, how many of you seen a personal credit report, an Experian or TransUnion or Equifax report in the past, I'll ask 12 months? Who's seen a credit report, a personal credit report in the past 12 months? And I'm going to add to that, how about the specialty credit reports? Did you know there's credit reports outside of Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax? They have a lot of data collected on us, these different reporting bureaus, and it's important that we understand how to see those. And trying to change my screen here. Oh my goodness, I'm having typo problems here. There we go. All right. So, and I jumped ahead too many. Then seeing our personal credit report, the FACT Act was passed back in 2003. That's the Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act. And that was passed and put into law. It's actually an amendment to the Fair Credit Reporting Act to allow all of us across the United States, all adults, to be able to pull a personal credit report from TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax. Now, that law, the Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act of 2003, actually gave us annualcreditreport.com. For those of you that have seen a personal credit report in the past 12 months, did you receive it through annualcreditreport.com? Did you get it through Credit Karma? Maybe CreditWise? Maybe you're monitoring maybe you're monitoring your credit reports with another format. The key here is annualcreditreport.com is the true free report that gives us a full report from the 3 credit bureaus. Full report. So the federal law says that we're entitled to once every 12 months, but as of when COVID hit, the 3 bureaus decided to expand that to a weekly. We could visit our credit reports online, annualcreditreport.com, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax weekly. And that was supposed to sunset or expire December of 2023. They kept extending and extending, and finally December of 2023 was going to be the end. We weren't going to be able to pull any more every week. It would go back to the once every 12 months for each bureau. Well, in October of 2023, the 3 credit bureaus decided to expand it permanently. So if you go to annualcreditreport.com, all of us are able to pull every bureau report, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax bureaus, every week, permanently. And people ask me, why would I want to see my credit report every week? Why? I don't know if anybody wants to put in the chat, but I know we don't have a lot of time here tonight to talk about this, so I want to get right to it. If you do have a suggestion why, or an answer why you think we should see it every week, put it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and give what our answer is in class. And that is, by tracking your credit reports weekly, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, you can watch how and when the creditors report your data to the credit bureaus. So our data is constantly moving. New information is sent in. Depending on how old your credit file is, you could have items that are coming off. You could have items that if you have items on your credit report more than 7 years, you may have an item in the last 7 years that is now hitting the 7-year mark that may had a negative connotation, may have had a derogatory. 7 years from the last time you were late, that negative now turns into positive status. So the credit report's always moving and breathing. Creditors are sending data in. It's important that we see the data. Now, what's great about seeing it every week is you can monitor when it changes, when each individual credit item changes. So don't be afraid of the credit report. When we look at our personal credit reports through annualcreditreport.com or any of the other reports we pull through the FACT Act, the Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act, those personal pulls are soft inquiries. They do not affect our scores. There's another, and I'll talk a little bit more about the reports in just a second, but I want to bring another report to your attention, and that's the LexisNexis Full File Report. The LexisNexis Full File Report, you have a link on the bottom of my slide number 5. That particular report shows a lot of data. It is a combination of multiple reporting bureaus that go underneath as one umbrella of the LexisNexis Full File. There's insurance records, like when you applied for insurance, car insurance, you'll see or renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance. You'll see that report in the LexisNexis Full File. You might see your driving record. You might see if you have a professional license, that record may be there. It'll show you all the deed records everywhere you lived within a period of time, plus whoever owned those properties. It is a lot of data. But the most important piece that I feel that we're going to see with the LexisNexis Full File Report are public records, liens and judgments. If anyone has ever sued you and won, or if anyone has ever filed against you in a county court, the LexisNexis Full File Disclosure is going to pull that data and report it in this particular report. It is so important to see this because if you're going to be shopping for a home, the personal credit report that we receive through Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, or Credit Karma, or CreditWise, or any other ways you're looking at a personal credit report, they do not, although it includes a section called public records, any liens and judgments, if anyone has sued you and has a record in the courthouse, it will not appear on the credit reports. In the past, yes, you would see public records on the credit report, but not since 2008. Those have been pulled from the bureaus. I may be wrong I have a memory fog there on when they pulled them, but just know that now if you have a public record, even though the section says, the public records section, it does not list on the credit report. The public records that do list are your bankruptcies. Maybe if you have a federally insured student loan that is in default status, it could be there. It also could be if you owe the Attorney General money for back child support, that could be there. But as far as other liens and judgments, it's not reported. So we need a way as consumers to be able to find these through the court records across the United States. And the LexisNexis Full File Report will do that for us. Now, you may not have any data, but if there is data there, you need to be able to dispute it if it's not yours, or learn to live with it if it is. Okay, so, I'm trying to jump here. Okay. So again, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, that is another way we're entitled to get our credit reports for free. And in addition to the annual creditreport.com, which we can see now weekly. But if you want to order it again and you have been denied credit, employment, or insurance, or had an adverse action taken on you, which means that if you were granted credit on less favorable terms, and it was due to information that was in the personal credit report or in your Experian or TransUnion or Equifax report, you're going to get a letter in the mail from that creditor or that entity that you were applying with or through. And if a credit report was pulled and you were denied or had that adverse action again, you're entitled to another free credit report. Now, this was so important to us because, again, annualcreditreport.com only gave us once every 12 months. But now, well, we don't need to wait till we were denied credit or employment or insurance or had an adverse action taken to see our personal credit reports, because annualcreditreport.com gives these to us every week. Now, when I said you can order them every week, the weekly reports from annualcreditreport.com, you're going to have to go online and download those. These reports through the Fair Credit Reporting Act, if you've been denied in the previous slide, credit, employment, or insurance, or had an adverse action, or if you certify in writing and you're unemployed and you plan to look for a job within the next 60 days, you send letters to each of the 3 credit bureaus. Or if you receive public assistance, you're entitled to another free report. Now, with the public assistance, if I receive public assistance and I'm requesting my free full report by mail from each of the 3 credit bureaus, I'm going to send them a letter. I'm going to let them know that I received public assistance. I'm going to have to include something with my name and address on it and my public assistance award letter. And then we're also entitled to a free personal report through the Fair Credit Reporting Act if we believe our report is incorrect because of fraud. Has anyone here been a victim of fraud? I hope not. You can't see the slides? Someone says they can't see the slides. I hope you can see them now. Okay, so when we receive these credit reports from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, we do not receive a score. We do not receive a credit score with these reports. But you get the meat and potatoes, you get the whole stew on what the credit score is built from. So again, if you're expecting a score, you're not going to see a FICO score or a Vantage score model when you order these personal reports. But we're going to suggest that you not get all worried about the score. Not yet. Because when you start applying for mortgage loans with lenders, once you apply for a mortgage loan and that lender pulls that credit report and score, they're going to send you a letter. They're going to send you a letter to tell you what the score was. They're not going to give you a copy of the credit report that they pulled, but they will send you a letter that lists the scores, whichever scoring model they pulled, whether it's a FICO or a Vantage, they will send that data to you. So you're going to know which score the lender pulled, what the lender received. But when you pull your personal reports, those are soft inquiries. They do not affect our score, which are different from when lenders pull when you apply. All right, so our credit report is our financial report card, and it documents our credit history. When we apply for a loan or any type of credit, if a creditor pulls a credit report, they're probably using that credit report to determine their willingness of risk if they they granted us that piece of credit. They're using that as a tool, that credit report that they pull. They're using that as a tool to help them determine whether or not they're going to issue credit. The credit report does not tell the lender or the creditor, hey, Sherry's doesn't pay her bills on time, don't loan to her. Or Sherry pays her bills on time, lend to her. No, the credit report doesn't say that. The credit report is just a history of data that's been reported to them about me from my creditors. Again, the creditor may use that credit report as a tool to assess our ability to repay debt in a timely manner. Just because I have an excellent credit report everything's paid on time and I've been in the system a long time. Or let's say I don't pay my bills, or I haven't paid my bills in the past on time, but recently I have begun doing that. My credit report indicates that I am paying on time within 30 days current. Again, neither one of those scenarios are going to grant me credit or deny me credit. The lender's going to make their own decisions based on their underwriting guidelines, and the credit report may be one of the pieces, one of their tools to help them make that decision. Employers also may review my credit report with my permission. If I'm applying for a job and the application states that that they may be pulling background checks, they ask permission, I'm going to have to say yes or no. Yes, I allow you to do a background check, employer, or no, I don't. If I say no, my application probably isn't going to go much further. But if I say yes, then there's a variety of credit reports that the employer can pull, from employment history to my credit to other background reports. Just know that it could be that they pull a TransUnion or Experian or an Equifax report. If they do, you're going to know when you pull your personal credit report. And you'll know because when you get your reports through Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, it's going to list a section called soft inquiries. It's the soft inquiries section. Soft inquiries do not affect our credit score, but when an employer pulls a credit report, Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax, it's going to be listed in the soft inquiries section. The only entity that knows that your credit has been pulled is the credit bureau and you. And of course, the company who pulled it, but they don't see any other soft inquiries. So you might be applying for multiple jobs. That employer does not know that you've been applying for multiple jobs unless you tell them, because they do not see the soft inquiry section if another employer has pulled a credit report. And again, that date is listed on and their name in the soft inquiry section. That's for your eyes only. Your eyes and the credit bureau's eyes only. Insurance companies, if you're applying for auto insurance, if you're applying for renter insurance or homeowners insurance, again, when you fill out the application and you give permission to do a background check, then a credit report could also be a piece of that. And people say, well, why would my insurance company need to know what my credit says? Well, they'll say that they want to see, do you pay your bills? Do you have a lot of outstanding debts? Are you a candidate for an insurance claim because you have too many debt obligations? I'm not saying this. I'm just saying what the reason behind an insurance company pulling a credit report would be. Now, insurance inquiries, also soft inquiries. We've had many people throughout our classes that have found out or have the information presented to them in their soft inquiry section of the credit report. They did not, I'm going to use insurance as an example. Maybe they have Allstate insurance and they aren't shopping for new insurance. But yet, in the past 2 years, because that's how long the inquiries will report on the credit report, 2 years from today, 2 years back, there may be a Farmers or a Geico or Progressive inquiry. And if that person has never shopped for insurance, that could be an indication that someone else was trying to use their good name. That could be an indication that a person is a victim of identity theft or potential fraud. So if you do see information, creditors listed even in the soft inquiries section, if you didn't authorize the inquiry, then again, you're gonna read when you receive your credit reports. It's going to tell you how to dispute those inquiries that you don't agree with. Inquiries only report for 2 years. Hard inquiries only affects our credit score for 12 months. Okay, you can dispute, you can dispute incorrect items on your credit report for free. You don't need to pay anyone to clean your credit report for you. I'm stuttering here because I'm trying to say this to you without harming any person, but companies have the right to be in business, yes. But you also have the right to pay for services that you need, services that you want. But credit repair is something we can all do ourselves. And it all starts with getting a copy of your personal credit report from Experian, from TransUnion, and from Equifax. And then view those 3 reports, view them. And if there is misinformation on the report, each report is going to tell you, give you instructions on how to dispute. You either go back online to their website and you select a button, I dispute this item. Or you can call them on the phone. We'll give you a phone number to call to file your dispute. They'll even give you, in some cases, a form to fill out to dispute the particular items. Now, with the form, if you do receive that form in your credit report, in your printed version of your credit report, you may have to make some copies of it because they usually only give us one. But if you had more than 3 or 4 items that you're disputing, before you call on the phone, before you check the box, make a list. Make a written list. Write down the date, the time that you're filing your dispute. Credit bureaus have, depending on how you order a report, if you order it through annualcreditreport.com, they have up to 45 days or so to complete their dispute to get you an answer. If you order a report through the Fair Credit Reporting Act, remember that's if you've been denied credit, employment, or insurance over the last 60 days or had an adverse action, if you're a victim of fraud, if you receive public benefits and you're ordering a report, or if you're unemployed looking for work and you put that in writing to the credit bureaus, they have 30 days to run that dispute. Now, when you run a dispute, when the credit bureau finishes their dispute, they're either going to update the item. So it says that that my balance was wrong. My balance is too high. My balance says I'm $3,000, but I really only owe $1,200. It hasn't been updated in some time. It says I pay on time, but the balance is incorrect. I dispute that. The creditor sends the data in, and my credit report is corrected. So it gets updated. Or it could be that the creditor says, nope, we verified this is the balance. This is the balance as of this month that we're reporting. It's the correct balance. It stays. It's verified. Or the creditor could say, okay, that isn't Sherry. We can delete it. The creditor can delete it. If the creditor through this dispute does not respond in a timely manner, if they don't respond in a timely manner, that 30 days or so for the Fair Credit Reporting Act, or up to 45 days or so for the Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act through annualcreditreport.com, then the item will fall off the credit report. It doesn't mean it isn't yours. It doesn't mean it is yours. It's just that because of the time frame and they didn't respond in a timely manner, the item falls off. That item you were disputing just falls off the report. It's removed. Now, if it is really yours, the creditor is going to report it again. So the next billing cycle or after, it most likely will return. So if it comes off the report, but it really is yours, if it comes off the report because they didn't respond in a timely manner, eventually it could go back on if it's yours. So it's going to be important if you're thinking it's not yours. It's going to be so important to go back and check your credit reports. Now that we can do it weekly, you don't have to wait for a period of time before you see it again. If you're through the dispute process, pull those reports down weekly and verify when the data is updated. So again, you don't need to pay anyone to clean your credit report for you. Now, there's companies that do credit repair. Yes, there are. But the Credit Repair Organizations Act says that any company that is providing credit repair, they cannot collect any money from the person who's their client. They cannot collect any money until they have completed the task that was provided in the contract. So a lot of folks I talk to say they talk to these people that they've met through a friend of a friend of a friend. They pay them some money up front. They tell them, well, we're really not doing credit repair. You're joining a membership, or you're doing some other type of service. If they're doing credit repair, they fall under the federal Credit Repair Organizations Act. So again, if somebody's asking you to pay, You're going to ask them to provide you the data that shows that they are not to collect any money from you until they have completed the task in the contract that they said they were going to do. But ultimately, you can do that work yourself by just contacting the credit bureau, filing the dispute. Okay, so only inaccurate information can be removed. If somebody's telling you that they can clean your credit, don't worry, we can get everything off. No, if it's correct, it is going to come back on. Only incorrect data, incorrect information can be removed. Negative information that is accurate can stay on your credit report for as long as the governing laws allow. So for items that you're 30, 60, 90, or up to 100 or over 120 days late, items can remain on the credit report in the derogatory in that late payment status for up to 7 years from the last time you were late. Eventually, that item will roll into a positive status. But most lenders, when you're applying for a mortgage loan, they're going to want an explanation on any late payments. Even if it's just one 30-day late 4 years ago, they're most likely going to want from you an explanation of why you were late. So be prepared. Write that explanation, 2 sentences, 3 sentences on what happened, why you were late, and be honest. It could be that you just missed a payment. It could be that you thought you paid the bill in full and it wasn't, but once you realized you owed the balance, you paid it, but by then you were already 30 days late. Again, be honest, and that honesty will go a long way with your application. Now, how about credit scores? How many of you have seen a credit score in the past 12 months? Anyone seen a credit score? If you have, my question to you is, which model did you see? Do you know? So the score, all it is, it's a number that is derived by a statistical program. That's it. And different scoring models grade us differently, and the information they grade is what's listed on the credit report. That credit score may be used, maybe, not saying it will be, but it may be used to determine how much you're going to pay. What are the terms? What rate are you going to pay? What kind of payment they're looking at? That credit score could categorize this in certain categories, categorizing categories. It could place us in certain categories that if our score is X, then our interest rate is going to be Y. But if our score is lower, our interest rate might be YY. So again, not all creditors use a credit score in the same manner when they determine risk. But if a credit score is pulled, just know that the score that the creditor pulls may be a totally different model from what we see as consumers. How many of you have seen a score from Credit Karma? With Credit Karma, we get our credit report, we can see a TransUnion, and we can see an Equifax. We also receive the TransUnion and the Equifax score. We're not seeing Experian, but we can see the TransUnion and the Equifax score. The score we are seeing with Credit Karma is a different model than what most lenders use. So while there's many types of credit scores, the most commonly used scores are the FICO score, which it's owned by a private company, Fair Isaac, and then the Vantage score models. Vantage score is a score that's been developed and is owned by the 3 credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Now, I said earlier that we're seeing our Credit Karma score. That's a Vantage score, and it's calculated different. It's based on the numeric is calculated differently than the FICO model. So I want to share with you how the FICO model develops their score. So first of all, it's based on information on your credit report. So earlier I said if you see that credit report and there's misinformation there, if a lender has already pulled a credit score, let's say they ordered a credit score, that score is based on whatever was on that report on the day and time that creditor pulled. So if you're looking at your credit report after you've started the process, the damage may be done because the score that the creditor pulled may be based on misinformation. So you need to talk to that creditor and let them know, oh my gosh, I just pulled my credit report and it's full of misinformation. I want to dispute. That lender, that creditor may ask you, okay, hold on, don't dispute. Share with the creditor the items to show the correct items with that lender, that creditor, and then after the process, they can go in and they can adapt their model to indicate the corrections. But Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, they're going to need you to dispute the items for you to correct the items on the credit report for future credit score pullings to indicate all of the information that has been corrected. The lender again may ask you not to start the inquiry, because once you start an inquiry, once an inquiry is happening, the item that you have disputed, the words will be on the report. But during the dispute process, if it was a derogatory item, if it was a late payment or a balance that was wrong, it could be that at that time, that item comes out of the scoring model. And because that was a negative item, it may have been bringing your score down. Now that that item for the next 30 to 45 days is not included in the scoring model, my score just went up. My score went up. The lender's going to want to make sure that the score indicates a truth. So they're going to say, come back and see them after the inquiry is completed, when the score is where it should be. Either the item's been removed, the item's deleted, the item's been updated, corrected, or they have verified it and it comes right back to where it was. So just know that creditors will want you, before you start disputing, if you're already in the process or you're beginning the process, before you start disputing, talk to the lender of your choice. Let them know where you are with your credit report. Let them know that if you're planning on disputing because there's incorrect information, which you should, they may ask you to go, if you're going to do that, you may have to postpone your application until that inquiry has been remedied. Okay, so back to the differences between the bureaus and between the two main Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax FICO scores and their Vantage models. The FICO score is on a range of 300 to 850. It score, depending on the model, it could be a little lower, it could be a little higher than these numbers. There's 5 main categories of a FICO score. Number 1 is our payment history. 35% of our FICO model is based on how we pay our bills. 35%. Next is our utilization. How much do we owe on each account? That's 30%. Utilization is so important with a credit score. Utilization. And so for the utilization, you take your balance divided by your limit. How much of that card, of that credit account, are we using? Next is our length of credit history. That's 15%. How long have we had accounts open? The credit score likes to score folks with long credit history. More than a month, more than a year, more than 3 years, more than 5 years. So the longer you have history, it's only 15% of our score, but the longer we have history, the better it is for our FICO score. New credit. These are inquiries. How many inquiries have we had in the past 12 months? Even though they report on our credit report for 2 years, they only affect our credit score. Hard inquiries only affect our credit score for 12 months. That's 10% of our FICO score. And then another 10% is our mix of credit. What kind of accounts do we have? Do we have a mix of installment loans? Do we have auto loans? Do we have small dollar loans? What kind of installment loans are we carrying? And then what kind of credit cards do we have? Do we have store cards? Do we have retail cards? Do we have the national bank cards, the Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express cards? What kind of credit mix do we have? All of these different categories go into our FICO score. Next is the Vantage model. Now, again, I said earlier, Vantage was developed by Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. It's a competitor to the FICO score. It is also on the same range, that 300 to 850, but it's scored differently. So when in class, I talk about these two models, and I want everybody to visualize an apple and a pineapple. Both of these words have the word apple in them. But if you're thinking of the fruit, isn't an apple different from a pineapple? They're both fruit, but they're totally different. So then I would like for you to think of the FICO score as an apple, whereas the Vantage score would be a pineapple. And the reason I say this is because there's 60 plus different versions of, according to FICO, 60 plus different versions of the FICO scoring model. There are retail versions, and TransUnion, Experian, Equifax have their own versions. There are insurance scores, there's auto lending scores, there are mortgage scores, there's consumer lending, there's the credit card industry. All of these, there's the personal scores that we see as consumers. So all of these different models, whoops, I'm hearing lots, some noise there, Kazoo tight. All of these different models, these different scoring models, we may not be able to get our hands on, because these are what the creditors subscribe to. When we see a personal credit score, when we order our credit scores, we see the personal version. And so if you pulled your credit score, your personal score, on the day that the mortgage lender pulls also on that day, even if y'all pulled within the same 15 minutes, the score could be different, because what the creditor is requesting in their model may be different from the personal model. They may be weighing maybe installment loans heavier, or they may be weighing with the type of installment loans heavier. Again, there are different versions of each scoring model. So back to the apples and the pineapple. There are a lot of different apples. If you've ever been to a grocery store, one of those markets that have all the different kinds of apples, you may have lined up 15 or 20 different versions of apples. They're all apples, but they're different. Think of that. Think of your FICO score that way. The score we see as a consumer when we order a personal score, it won't be, or it probably won't be the same number that the lender pulls when they pull your score, when they order that score. Now, back to the Vantage model. The Vantage, again, on the same scale, 300, 850, could be a little lower, could be a little higher. When the Vantage score began, it was on a scale of 500 to 990. And it gave us a letter grade in addition to that numeric score. It gave us a letter grade of an A, B, C, D, or F. So a lot of folks, they'd call me and they go, I've got my score, I got it through Credit Karma, and I'm a 720. I have a 720 on my TransUnion. And I was told that all I needed to have was a 640. So I am good to go. I am great. What they didn't realize, though, that was a different model than what the lender was asking for. The lender wanted to see, at least, I'll use this as an example, at least a 640 FICO. But they had a 720 Vantage, and they weren't the same. On that scale of 500 to 990, and you got a letter grade, A, B, C, D, or F, the 720, you got a grade of a D, because it was down to 70. Anything below 70 was an F. So is a D the same as a high B? Is the D the same as a low B? Again, if you're in the 600 or upper 600s on a FICO score, that could be a very high score. Whereas you're on a 720 on a Vantage in that old model, that wasn't high. That wasn't a high score. But people didn't know that, and they'd get these false ideas that they were in a good standing. All right, so number 2, we want you to know who and what you owe. So we ask everyone in our classes to prepare a debt worksheet. And in this debt worksheet, you're going to include the interest rate you're paying on your existing account, the name and address of that creditor, and the date that this account was open. This is important. Remember, link the credit history. It's important for you to know when the account was opened. Some identifier for the account. So in our classes, we suggest do not put the whole account number on this. You don't want to open yourself up to a potential fraud. Somebody got your paperwork and took your notes. So just put the last four digits of that account, Visa 2242. Now you're going to list the contact number of that particular creditor. To contact that creditor, if it's a credit card, just flip over your credit card and the phone number is going to be on the back of the credit card. Or pull your statement, your monthly statement. It'll be listed on the monthly statement too. Then you're going to list your amount, or your limit. I'm sorry, your limit. What is my limit on my account? Maybe you don't know what your limit is. You just use it and pay it on time. Use it and pay it on time. When you get a copy of that personal credit report from annualcreditreport.com, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, you will see listed on that report the date opened. You'll see what your limit is, and you'll see the reporting month's balance. So you're going to list your balance, and then you're going to calculate your utilization for that individual account. Whether it's an installment loan, something you pay under contract, you pay over a period of time, month to month to month to month, whether it's a revolving account, a credit card. For our purposes, we would just want you to know, what is your utilization? What are you using this month, this billing period, this reporting billing period? What is your utilization? Again, balance divided by your limit. How much of my account am I using? Then we're going to ask you to list your minimum payment. When you're applying for a loan, a mortgage loan, lender is happy that you're paying more than the amount due, yes, but when they calculate your debt to income ratio, which you'll learn in the next couple of presentations, when you calculate your own debt to income ratio, they're going to be using, or when the lender calculates it, or you're going to be using your minimums required on these revolving accounts, your credit cards, not what you pay every month on the credit cards. If you pay more than the minimum amount due, you're only going to use the minimum amount due when they calculate your debt to income ratios. All right, and then we're going to ask you to list your billing date. Your billing date is the date that your bill is closed for that month. It's when the bill is generated. So it's important to know my billing date, because if I'm going to be using a credit card and let's say I have a billing date of the 29th. My billing date's the 29th of this month. And with that said, that's going to be Thursday, the 29th. If there was a sale Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and my billing date is the 29th, Thursday, what would be the best day for me to use that card? Can anybody give me a suggestion? I don't see anybody putting in the chat. I hope y'all are still here. What would be the best day? You can unmute yourself and tell me, or you can just put it in the chat. Our billing date's the 29th, the sale's the 29th, the 1st, and the 2nd, because this month we have 29 days. No date, don't use it. All right, so I'd say if there's a sale and there was something I had to buy, something I wanted to buy, something I needed to buy, you're in charge of your spending. Victoria's suggesting Friday. Okay, so if it's Friday, that's the day after the billing period. So my billing period ended, my billing date was on Thursday, the 29th. So if I buy it on Friday, my bill's not going to be generated for another month. And then I'm going to have up to 3 weeks, maybe even up to 25 days to pay that bill off or to make my payment on time. So I basically have, if I buy it on Friday, that bill's not going to be due for almost 7 weeks. I mean, that could be a good thing for me. But if I am in the process of buying something and I know I have the money to pay for it, so we suggested the Credit Coalition, if you can get into the habit of when you use your credit card, you have a balance on it, pay that bill in full when the bill comes in. People go, that's crazy. Why would I pay the bill in full? Well, if you pay the bill in full, you're not paying interest. If you had no balance going into the cycle and then you use the card, the bill's generated, you have a billing date, and now you have a due date. If you pay that bill in full by the due date, then you're not paying any interest. So you have that short-term loan. If this was the case with this purchase I made, I'd say I bought a TV set for $350. I bought it on Friday. It was on sale. That bill's going to be due in 7 weeks, a full billing cycle a month, plus another 3 weeks to 25 days. If I already had the money to pay the bill, I'm letting my credit work for me. And when the bill comes in, I pay that bill in full. I'm not paying any interest. Now, the problem is, if I did that, it was me, and my intention is to pay that bill in full in that 7-week period. Again, another month plus for the next billing cycle, plus another 3 weeks before it's due. What if something happened and I spent my money? My intention was to pay it in full. And when it comes 7 weeks later, I spent my money on something else. Oh, all right. Well, I may not be able to pay it in full. And my intention of paying in full just went down the window here. And now I'm going to be paying interest. So maybe it was better for me to go ahead and buy it on Thursday and then know that my bill's due in 3 weeks to 25 days. So it depends on you. It depends on how much in control are you of your money, or do you let your money control you, or do you control it? So ultimately, if you understand how the billing cycle works, you can have a plan on how to get yourself out of debt before that debt starts accumulating interest. Okay, number 2, you're going to know your credit limits and pay down that credit card balance to less than 10% of your total available credit limit. Now, how many of you heard that as long as you keep your credit balances less than 30% of your limit, the FICO score likes that? A lot of folks tell us that, yes. The FICO scoring model likes to see your balance is not higher than 30%, but what it prefers is a balance less than 10%. So basically, the FICO score likes seeing that you're using your credit, and they really likes to see that you pay it off in full when the bill comes in. And then again, when you do that, you're not paying any interest. But the FICO score likes to see activity, and they like to see small balances get reported. People say, well, if I'm going to pay it off, how can that be reported if it's going to zero? The activity that you had when the billing cycle showed a balance, that's what gets reported to the credit bureau. The fact that you paid it in full the following month shows activity. You don't need to keep a running balance and pay interest for it to show activity on your credit report. The credit report, all it wants to see is the FICO scoring model likes to see that you're using it and then paying it, and preferably paying it off with the newest FICO 10T models. Pay your bills on time, make a plan to pay that credit card balance in full when the bill arrives, or if you can't pay it in full, then have a plan how you're going to pay it off over a period of time. After the Christmas holidays, I take my grandkids and my daughter and daughter-in-law, and we shop at Kohl's. Always at Christmas. We're up in Oregon visiting the family, and we go to Kohl's, to the mall. They have one mall in their area. And we go to the big mall and we shop at Kohl's. And I put everything on my Kohl's card so I can get Kohl's cash back. And then in January, when that bill is generated, I usually have to take a deep breath. I plan on paying the bill in full, but it's not realistic for me. I know it's not realistic. And so because of the balance is quite large, I have to split that up over so many months. And so I pinky swear to myself saying, Sherry, you're going to pay this balance off over the next 3 months, over the next 4 months. That's my plan to myself. Now, there's nobody else holding me to that goal or that plan, but me. But that's something that I would suggest to class. Have a plan. If you have a balance that you know that you're not going to be able to pay it in full, we're not saying, oh, I'm sorry, you're not doing good. No, no, no. You make a plan that works for you and stick to that plan. Sometimes our plans have to change. Sometimes, just like goals, they have to change. But ultimately, if you can make a plan with yourself, you know how much you owe, you know how much you can pay. Go ahead, set that up and start making your payments so you eventually can get that account to zero. Once you get that account to zero, do not close the account. Again, we're talking about length of credit history with the FICO score. Don't close the account. Instead, put that card somewhere where it's safe, where it won't be yelling at you to use me, use me, use me, day after day after day. If you're the kind of person that needs a little bit of help not to use your credit card every month or every week or every day, then maybe you can stick it in a Ziploc freezer bag. Take a gallon freezer bag, put that card in it, fill it up with water, stick it in your freezer. Now, that's going to freeze hard. You're not going to be able to put that credit card in the microwave to defrost it. When you do want to use it, you're going to have a plan. You have to let it out. Put it in the sink, let the water drain on it for a while. Then you got another utility bill there. But let the water defrost it. And then it'll give you that cooling off period to let you decide whether or not you really do want to make the transaction. You really want to use that credit card because it'll be there for you when you're ready for it. You're just going to have to defrost it first. Maybe that's going to give you enough cooling off period before you decide to buy something you didn't really want to buy. So again, you don't want to close the account. You want to leave the account open. If you are planning on a purchase, you're in this class. This is all about your path to home ownership, these next 3 series over this one. If you are planning on a purchase, we suggest you sit down with your bank or credit union or the lender that you were going to talk to about applying for the mortgage loan and ask them what they need to see. What do they need to see in their clients' credit reports? How many accounts do they need to see open? How many accounts are too many accounts? They're not going to tell you if you do X, you'll grant you a loan, but they can tell you based on their particular loan products what the lenders like to see, what that particular company likes to see. All right, then we're going to roll to tracking our spending. So we ask that you write everything down that you spend for at least 1 month and save all of your receipts. You already know who you owe. You're building that debt worksheet on who you owe, what you owe, and how you've been paying that. You know that. You've seen copies of your credit report. You've ordered those. You've ordered that LexisNexis full file report. So everything is all working together here. And now we're asking you to track your spending for a month. Know what it takes to live your financial life. Now, folks that were in our class in the October, November series, they were just getting through the Halloween series, Thanksgiving, ready for Thanksgiving, and then getting ready for the holidays, for the December holidays. And a lot of people told me that they spent money that they normally don't spend during the year. On the other hand, folks that just graduated from our first class last week, our January, February class told me, okay, they had bills that they normally don't have in April, May, or June because these are bills left over from the Christmas spending holidays, the October, November, December spending. Now they're in the process of paying those debts down. Okay, well, those are debts, but what about other things? What about your groceries? What about your utilities? What about childcare? What about money you give to your children or your spouse if you're the person who pulls the money out of the ATM? We want you to have a line for everything. When I build, some down payment assistance programs require a budget form to be completed by the housing counselor that you completed your home buyer education class with. And in that case, we map we map the bank statements. And a lot of bank statements tell me that someone just goes to the ATM and pulls out $30, $50, $125. It doesn't say where the money's going. So I need you, if you were in our class, I'd ask you to be honest with yourself and make a list of everything you spend and save all of your receipts for at least a month. We want you to build that spending plan, a spending plan for the following month based on what it took you to live your financial life the previous month. Next, pay yourself first. If you're not already paying yourself first with a deduction from your paycheck into a savings account, or maybe you pull out, $5 and you put it in a jar at home, or maybe you keep change. However you pay yourself, do that. Pay yourself first before you pay any other bills. If you don't pay yourself first and you wait till the end of the paycheck period, you're probably not going to have much money left over to pay yourself first because we usually find a way to spend our money. But if you pulled out $5, $10, $2, and you put it in your savings jar, when you go to the grocery store, you're probably going to adjust for that little bit of shortage from your paycheck or that little bit of shortage in your account. You're probably going to adjust your grocery shopping. If you need that money to complete your shopping or pay a utility or do something with your life, then that money's waiting for you. Just pull it back out of the jar, pull it back out of your drawer. If you are going to save money at home, we want to make sure it's someplace safe that you can take with you in a moment's notice, that you won't leave behind and let it be a victim of theft or a victim of a natural disaster. Saving could be for an emergency fund. It could be to go on vacation. It could be an opportunity that might come your way that you wouldn't have been able to do if you didn't have the cash on hand. But the key here is put a name to it. Put a name to that savings, and that may help motivate you to continue to save towards that particular named goal. Next, now that you have your credit report, you see who and what you owe. If you do have an outstanding bill and your intention is to pay it in full or pay it off or pay it with a settlement, whatever you're choosing, just know that when you talk to those creditors, we suggest, yes, you take care of your past because the past could come back and bite you in the future when you least expect it. But if you are going to work with a creditor for a workout or payment plan, make sure it's something you can afford. If they offer you, they say, well, we'll take $100 a month for 3 months to pay off this $300, and you can only afford $25. Let them know I can only afford $25 a month. I can't afford $100 a month. So again, you want to get everything in writing. If a creditor is willing to accept less than the amount owed or willing to put you in a repayment plan and call that paid in full and possibly delete on the credit report any negative information or negative history, the only entity that can remove a negative item is the entity that put it on there. So if you're working with a third-party company and they have bought that debt from the creditor, let's say they bought your Macy's debt, they cannot take Macy's off. Only Macy's can remove the negative item. But remember, negative items become positive 7 years from the last time you were late. So eventually it'll roll to a positive status. But back to affording the payments. Don't feel intimidated by talking to them. If they try to intimidate you, you just tell them, okay, I can afford $25. If you want to accept this, then I'm calling the next one on my list. Don't offer to do something that you know you cannot afford. All right, now we're ready to attend our homebuyer education class. There are many homebuyer educators, HUD-approved housing counseling agencies in the greater Houston area. Beaumont, Port Arthur also, really the state of Texas, the country. There are HUD-approved housing counseling agencies all across the country. You can go to HUD.gov. I give you in here the link for finding a housing counselor on the HUD website. Earlier today, HUD's website was down. So even if I tried to open this link, it may tell me it's down. I'm not going to go there right now. But I added here also the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's Find a Housing Counselor. It's another way to find HUD-approved housing counseling agencies in your area. With the CFPB list, again, this Consumer Financial Protection, Find a Housing Counselor, it's going to ask you to enter a zip code. And when you enter your zip code, it's going to give you the 10 closest ones to you. There may be 15, there may be 20 in your area, but CFPB guide only gives you 10. So the HUD.gov site will give you, you can narrow it down by zip code, you can narrow it down by city, you can search by state. Again, the HUD.gov will give you all of them depending on how you're searching. So again, there's a lot there, whereas CFPB will give you 10 based on the zip code. All right, so find yourself a HUD-approved housing counseling agency homebuyer education class. If you're going to use down payment assistance dollars, they're going to require you to have a class, at least an 8-hour class provided by a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. So this is where I'm going to give it a little commercial for Sherry and the Credit Coalition. We are one of the HUD-approved housing counseling agencies in town. And yes, we do offer a homebuyer education, it's a financial and homebuyer education series called The Fundamentals of Good Credit. We're free, but we meet once a week for 6 sessions. once a week for 6 sessions. And there are other agencies that can do an 8-hour session in a day. Some split over 2 days, some will do 3 days, but we do 15 hours over 6 sessions, once a week for 6 sessions. So again, all of the agencies across town and across the country may offer their classes in different formats. We do live, Zoom, we do a classroom in Southeast Houston at Palm Center. Some agencies and some down payment assistance programs will accept a class that you take online and then take a test. So different agencies can meet this at least 8-hour requirement in different ways. So again, find yourself a housing counseling agency close to you with hours that you will enjoy. And then you need to ask each agency, what are the fees? HUD allows the agencies to charge for this service. Some agencies like the Credit Coalition, we don't charge for any of our programs or services. That doesn't mean we're any better or any worse than any other agency. It's just that's our mission. We just don't charge. Where other agencies do charge, and it's not that they're any better or any worse. They just have a fee-based program. They just have to explain to you what their fee is, and then it's up to you to pay. Last on this page, I'm sharing with you the City of Houston Homebuyer Assistance Program. If anyone is interested, let's see if this will do. Can y'all see that I changed the screen? Are y'all able to see this? Latasha, you
Yes.
there? Okay, so
Yes.
I just use the open link. You're going to receive a thank you. You're going to see this webinar. You're going to receive the PowerPoint slides, but this takes us directly to the Housing and Community Development Department of the City of Houston and their Home Buyer Assistance Program. And it is so easy to get started. First thing is you have to be a first-time home buyer, which means you have not owned a home in the last 3 years, or you're considered a first-time buyer if you were divorced, you were a homeowner and you're divorced, and the judge awarded the home to the other spouse, to the ex-spouse, or the judge ordered the home to be sold. And this is within the last 3 years. Or you lost your home due to a federally declared disaster within the last 3 years, you're considered a first-time buyer. Otherwise, you cannot have owned a home in the last 3 years in your name. And that includes land. So not just the home, but if you have land in your name, then you're already an owner. Okay, your household income has to be at or below 80% of the area median income. They give you I can open up that slide, and it shows what our 2023 incomes are. Now, the 2024 incomes have not been posted yet, but for the City of Houston program, you cannot earn more than the 80% of area median income. So you'll be able to see that. Then the home that you want to purchase has to pay taxes to the City of Houston. This is specifically for the City of Houston Down Payment Assistance Program. So again, it's a wonderful way to help you become a homeowner. Their assistance is a no-interest forgivable loan secured by lien. Eventually, that lien will be forgiven if you live in this home for 5 years, for at least 5 years. And if you sell or move out of the home before the end of the 5 years, then the borrower is going to have to repay. The borrower is going to have to repay the city for a portion of the original assistance amount. So again, go back to the link on our team here. Oh, I just lost everybody here. You can go back to this slide. This is slide number 21, and the link is there. And I think, oh yeah, Latasha, you put it also into the chat. Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So to sum up this, be an informed consumer. Order your free personal credit and specialty consumer reports. Now, I'm going to throw one more thing about the specialty reports. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau actually has a guide of consumer reporting bureaus that include about 60 different personal specialty reports. And from rentals to employment screening to retail to the companies that gather data and have reporting bureaus for the small dollar loans or payday lending. Again, there's many different specialty reporting bureaus. And so we are entitled to see these reports because of the annualcreditreport.com. We're entitled to see them again once every 12 months. Many reports out there, banking reporting bureaus, the telecheck, check systems, early warning, a lot of different credit reporting bureaus. So again, don't think that there's only the three, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. Yes, lenders use those to determine whether or not they're going to, or use the data to help them determine whether or not they're going to loan you money. Yes, if a creditor uses the bureau reports, but then there's some creditors that use the other specialty reports, not Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So again, many different reporting bureaus out there. Monitor your credit reports, dispute the inaccurate items. Remember, we don't need to pay anyone to dispute any item on our credit report. We can do it ourselves for free. It all starts with the credit report, ordering the report. Pay your bills on time. Whatever your history was, that's history. Now move forward. If you're anticipating buying a home and you pull your credit report before you start the process, you pull it and you see, oh my gosh, I had some late payments 2 years ago, but I haven't had any late payments since. Again, the creditors, the lenders are going to ask you to explain why you were late. Don't get too personal, but be honest. And then you're going to show them, look, I haven't had a late payment since. Maybe you had a hard time. My child was sick, or I was sick, or I lost my job, or because of one of the freezes, I was off work for 3 weeks. Again, there could be a variety of reasons why you had late payments, but you're proving to them that yes, I could pay on time. Take a look at my credit report. If I was late last month and the month before that and the month before that, there's always next month. Start trying to pay your bills on time. On time means you were not more than 30 days late. People are afraid, oh, I paid my bill. It's due the 1st, but I didn't pay my car note till the 15th. You're not 30 days late. All right, you may pay a late fee, but you're not 30 days late. All right, be patient. It takes time and discipline to build or improve your credit history and credit scores. If somebody tells you they're going to raise your credit overnight, your score overnight, no, there's nothing they can do overnight. But one thing you can do to help your credit score is reduce your revolving balances. Remember earlier we talked about where people think that FICO score likes to see nothing over 30% when they actually like to see the FICO scoring model likes to see less than 10%, somewhere between 6 and 10% of your use of your limit. So if you can get into the habit for the next few months of lowering your balances, pay the bill in full, and then when you order that month when you use your credit again, only put a little bit on it. Let it get generated. I have a $300 limit. I'm not going to put more than $30 on it. I'm going to pay that bill, and when the bill's generated, it's going to show I had a $30 balance. I'm going to pay that bill in full. I'm going to use it again. I'm going to put very small on there, maybe less than 30 the next month. When the bill comes in, I'm going to pay it in full. You're showing activity. You're showing that you know how to maintain loan balances and pay your bills on time. That's the quickest way, which isn't quick. That's the quickest way to raise a credit score, reduce the balances, and have them report to the bureaus. All right. And I was just going to share with y'all how to reach me. So I'm Sherry Young with the Credit Coalition. Another commercial here for our Fundamentals of Good Credit. Our contact information is here. If anybody needs us, please let me know. Send us a message. My email's here, sherry@creditcoalition.org. Our agency website is www.creditcoalition.org. We have a class beginning tomorrow night. Our Fundamentals of Good Credit Week 1 of 6 begins tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Zoom. Thursday night, we're at Palm Center in Southeast Houston. Our website does not show it as a hybrid class, but I will be opening the Palm Center location to Zoom also. So if you're interested, send me an email. And if not, Find yourself a HUD-approved housing counseling agency class that you can attend that works in your time frame. Our certificates from any HUD-approved housing counseling agency are valid for 12 months from your completion date. But even if your goal is further than 12 months out, that doesn't mean you should wait. We suggest get that class at the beginning, whether it's our agency or any other agency. Take the class at the beginning of your venture. So that way you're empowered with information. The more information you have, the better informed decisions you'll make. You know, as they say, we don't know what we don't know. So the more information you have, it's going to help you. It's going to help you know you have options, help you find those options that are right for you. Okay, Miss Latasha, it's
All
yours.
right. All right. Thank you, Sherry, for all the great information. I told you all she is a vast wealth of information. So thank you, Sherry, for everything. Deja, do we have any questions in the chat?
I seen one that says, "What could we do a virtual cards?" I'm not sure. Maybe that was a question on one of the previous slides Sherry was doing.
What can we do? I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean by virtual cards. Maybe you can, Shauna, you can tell us. Can you unmute yourself and ask again, Miss Wilson?
Oh yes, ma'am. Most of my credit cards are virtual now. I don't need the card anymore.
Okay,
Oh,
so you have them on your phone, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And then, so my question for those of us that don't receive paper statements, you get e-statements, correct? Electronic statements.
Yes, ma'am.
So you still can download the statement. One thing that I found for those of us that have e-statements, we get an alert saying our statement is up, here, and we have to open the website. They don't say, here's the link, go to it. It tells you to go to the website. So then you have to go to your app or your form, however you get into that app, that particular site, to download your statement. So if you download your statement, you're going to see all the data you need to fill out this form. Because again, the statement is a statement, whether we're carrying the card. Now, if the card is if you were talking about the card, not putting it in the Ziploc bag and freezing it, if the card's calling your name, if the card keeps calling
Yes.
your name and it's a virtual card, it's on your device, then can you
yeah.
disable it?
You can lock it.
Can you, yeah, disable it? Can you disable it? Which means that you'll
Yes.
have to take the effort to go back and re-engage that card. So I'm not saying may not be the same as freezing it. When you freeze it, that's keeping you from anybody else from using it too. Many of our cards, we can turn them off and turn them on. But if you turn it off and and it's not sitting there waiting, just saying, use me, use me, using, it's still there in the background, but you have to take that extra step to turn it back on. That may be enough to give us a cooling off period. One more thing. How many of you buy online? You have your form of payment already loaded. So all you have to do is hit pay. If you could take that form of payment out, take the form of payment out, and then when you sit down at Amazon and you're ready to buy something or groceries or whatever you do online, you have to pull the card out and then you have to enter the data. You got to enter the account number, enter the expiration, enter your name. All of that, you're going, oh my gosh, if I would have just saved this, I wouldn't have to do this. But that'll give you another little cooling off period because now you have to go through the steps of adding the payment. Plus, it may protect you from potential identity theft or fraud. If your card is not auto-populated on that account, you have to enter it each time. So that could be another way for me, I'll say for myself, to cool me off instead of buying this. Okay, I don't know how many times I have messed up trying to buy something on Amazon, and I realized that it's only thing that saved me was the fact that I went back and looked at my cart and realized I picked two things or three things of the same thing. If I would have not taken the time to go back and to enter my data and to see how even look at my cart again, I realized I put too many things in it. I didn't intend on buying all those things. Sure, people say you can return on Amazon. Not all resellers or not all of the retailer or through Amazon it's not all of them can be returned easily. Some,
Yeah.
again, you have to pay for that. It's not all free returns. So, again, if it's anything that can give you a little pause, again, if you're doing e-banking or those virtual cards where they're on your phone, where you can just slide your phone up to it and pay for it. If you have to take the time to re-engage it, to reactivate it, that may give you enough time for you to okay, hold on, I really don't want to buy this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Sherry, we have a question in the chat that's wanting to confirm your email address.
Okay, it's Sherry at creditcoalition.org, SHERRIE at creditcoalition.org. I'm putting it in the chat if it'll let me. Creditcoalition.org. If anybody can see the chat. So there it is. I see, is there a way we can review the information discussed in this session? When you're saying remove, okay, so Sherry at credit. Oh, so what it is Credit Coalition, not just coalition, creditcoalition.org. Okay. Now, Miss Williams, or S. Williams, I don't know. What do you mean if we can review the information? Review it personally, one-on-one, review it by coming to the Credit Coalition classes, or just have a copy so that you can get a copy of the PowerPoint so you can review it that way. Anyone? Yeah, so my email is Sherry at creditcoalition.org. Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah, and also you'll receive a recording. Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Let's see. All
I don't
right.
see any other questions in the chat at this time.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate y'all's time. I know it's an evening, and if you were in the fundamentals of good credit class, we're together 2.5 hours from 6:30 to 9. So this is a quick class for me, but tonight. But thank y'all very much for allowing me to share my evening with you, and again, the whole team there at the Housing and Community Development Department. Thank you very much for letting me be part of this wonderful series. Everybody, watch your emails. You'll be receiving the number 2, the number 3, and the number 4. Those dates are coming up.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Sherry. I thought we had someone raising their hand, Miss Sanchez.
I'm trying to
Okay.
see. Yeah, Olga and Victoria had her hand up, and so did April. I see those here.
All right. So if you want to release your mic, you're mute, and you can ask your question at this time.
Looks like Olga said no, so maybe she doesn't
Okay.
have a question.
I
Okay.
think they were raising their hands when Sherry asked the question.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Oh,
All
okay.
right.
Victoria said she was at the online shopping. She did. That's what she did. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
My
All
my
right.
my husband's the online shopper in our household. He cannot stop online shopping. He and Amazon, they have a thing. We've been married 46 years. I'd be jealous, but I've been married 46 years, so I'm not jealous about Amazon right now. He has a
And Amazon is a lot of people's best friend. So
that and a couple of his credit cards. The problem is for him, I have the alert set up. I hope everybody has an alert. I know we only have 5 minutes here, but I hope everyone has an alert set up on their bank account and their credit card. So when you use it or when anyone else uses it, you get that alert. And so I can catch my husband without even trying to catch him because I get the alert on my phone telling me that I get a text that that particular card has just been used. And sometimes it scares me, sometimes because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, and then I'll go around, I'll leave my back room where I'm talking, and I'll see him on the couch on his device, and I go, okay, that's Bobby. He's been shopping.
yeah, yeah.
He's been
He's just
shopping.
shopping.
He's just shopping.
Well, thank you once again, Sherry, for an awesome presentation as always. Now we're going to go into our upcoming events. And I'm gonna bring those up. Upcoming Spring 360 Road to Home Ownership, like Sherry stated, we have 3 other sessions coming up. This was our first session. Our second session will be March the 12th at 6 o'clock to 7:30, and it is titled Building the Perfect Team. You might want to join that. It is shortly, maybe in 2 weeks. Please excuse my mistake on here. The third session is road rules, what to expect. This particular session will focus on what do you need to expect after you get into the home. The different things such as taxes, insurance, HOAs. These are other things outside of purchasing your home that you need to budget for. So that will be an awesome session. It will be March 26th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Last but not least, session 4, housing tune-ups, maintenance, and care after ownership. This particular one, we will talk more about after being in the home for a certain amount of time. You have some decisions to make. Either you want to stay in your home or maybe you want to sell your home. And the different things that you need to look into, different appliances, different warranties. It is an awesome session and you don't want to miss that one. That will be April the 17th from 6 o'clock to 7:30. All of our sessions are in the evening. So if you want more information, please watch your emails. We will be sending those registrations out for you to register and invite a friend. If you know someone that is looking to become a homeowner, this is awesome series for you to participate in to get the best information to make the best decision for you and your family. So now I am going to give this over to our manager, Ms. Onika Porter, to close us out with the final remarks. And once again, thank you for your time, your energy, and thank you. And I hope to see you all in our next session.
Hello, everyone. I would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. First and foremost, I would like to thank our great guest speaker, Mrs. Sherry. She's always amazing. She always comes with a wealth of information. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's session. I would also like to thank my amazing team, Tasha and Deja. If you guys happen to have any questions that you may not have gotten out tonight or you may not have thought of, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And we definitely encourage you to join our future events. And if you have any issues registering, again, please reach out to us. You have our contact information. Thank you again for joining us tonight, and we really appreciate it. Have a good night.